usual, with wholeheartedly we pay attention to our breath, focusing mind on the breath exclusively, noticing the breath touching our nostrils, expanding our chest area and expanding our lower abdominal area. These are all very natural things happen when we breathe in and out. As we breathe out, our abdomen contracts, chest area contracts, the breath leaves our nostrils as we breathe out. So these are the functions that take place while we are breathing in and out. At the same time, we notice the feelings of the breath, perceptions, thought, consciousness arise and pass away much faster than the rising and falling of the breath. As they happen this way, the mind notices that there is nothing special, nothing to be excited. Very simple, normal, natural truth we can experience. And then let go of our any desire for clinging to anything. This desire is called kama chanda. And then as everything, body, feeling, perceptions, thought, consciousness, the body, mind are relaxed. When they relax, in the relaxed state of mind, we are really sincerely let us be relaxed. When in the relaxed state of mind, loving, friendly feeling arises. We have no animosity towards any person whatsoever, as we just recited in metta recital. No resentment. When metta feeling arises this way, compassion also arises for other shortcomings, weaknesses if we think they have, or other mental, physical ailments. Compassion arises in us for them and for us. And then arises, then our restlessness and worry fade away when compassion arises. And then when loving friendliness arises, resentment fades away, compassion arises, restlessness and worry fades away. And then the mind becomes more active, energetic, seeing the results. Then our sleepiness and drowsiness fade away. And then we see all this are happening in us. All this, we see them happening in us, not from outside. Seeing this happening, we gain confidence. Confidence in the practice. This practice is called Dhamma practice. Even though it is meditation, it is Dhamma practice. We have confidence in the Buddha who introduced this system. We have confidence in the Sangha who, following this system, attained full liberation. We have confidence that we too can attain that state. When we have this kind of mental states, letting go, loving friendliness, compassion, energy, and what you call joy. Joy arises. When joy arises, the body and mind become further relaxed and comfortable and peaceful. Then tranquility arises, passaddhi. Tranquil mind becomes happy. Happy state of mind naturally leads to concentration. Sukhino chittang samadhyati, Buddha said. The one whose mind is full of happiness, sukhino, chittang samadhyati, that person's mind gains concentration. Once we gain concentration, samahitang chittang yatha bhutam pajanati, that concentrated state of mind can see all our aggregates, form, feeling, perception, thought, and volitional formations, all are changing in a very rapid speed, rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling all the time. In the subtlest way, the minutest changes we can notice. Let us try to see how this happens for the next few minutes. dukkhapatta ca niddukkha bhayapatta ca nibbhaya sokapatta ca nissoka hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With this metta thought in mind, let us try to understand the Dhamma that involved in these answers. There are several questions. First question is, I would like to understand what are the meanings of Rupa Sanya, Patika Sanya, and Nanatta Sanya. How can we eliminate these three during meditation? Rupa Sanya is perception of form. Patika Sanya means perception of contact. Nanatta Sanya means perception of various things coming through the senses, six senses. Now, when one attains immaterial attainments called ayatanas, they are before attaining ayatanas, they are called akasanancha ayatana, viññānañca ayatana, akiñcañña ayatana, neva-saññā, na-saññā ayatana. They call in general as jhanas, but they have their own names, ayatanas. When one attains the akasananca ayatana, that person will, his state of mind elevate to higher level by overcoming perception of all kind of forms. All kind of forms that person has experienced through that person's eyes, he does not pay any attention to them. So that person let go of that perception of forms, of any form. Then a perception of various type of things coming from other five senses, sound, smell, taste, touch, and bodily contact. They are called Saddha Sanya, Gandha Sanya, Rasa Sanya, Pottabha Sanya, Dhamma Sanya. So that person overcome all these perceptions. And Patika Sanya means contact, perception of contact. Now, whenever these things arise, perception arises. So that person don't pay any attention to any of them. The mind at that state is has gained fourth material jhana, which is pure, clean, without stain of hindrances, and free from idiosyncrasies. Then soft, pliable, workable, gentle, and imperturbable. So when the mind is that clean and pure, in that state of mind, these kind of perceptions do not arise. So the person trained the mind to reach that state. Without reaching that state, you cannot have you cannot overcome these three types of perceptions. Rupa sanya, patika sanya, nanata sanya. You cannot overcome by force. They happen naturally, gradually. And you know the Buddha's teaching is anupubba sikha, anupubba kiriya, anupubba patipada. Anupubba sikha means training deliberately. And you can see you overcome one perception by another perception, like in Poddhapada Sutta in Digha Nikaya, Buddha has explained how one overcome one perception by training and cultivate another perception by training. And so forth, you go on training your mind, eliminating various type of perceptions until you come to the fourth jhanic stage, and then you overcome the perception of anything material. And then your mind will glide, so to say, promote itself to the non-perception state. And last of that stage is called neither perception nor non-perception. That is a very subtle state of mind. So it happens gradually, and you don't try to force yourself to attain it without practicing overcoming other lower states of perceptions. Another question. When we see or hear something and we merely see or hear with no reaction or feeling, it does not lead to perception or without formations. Now, when you use the word, when we see or hear, to ask this question, you assume that hearing can be done without perception. No. You cannot hear anything without perception. Hearing, whenever you hear the word hearing, that word hearing implies perception is there. Perception, that is saddha sanya. When you hear a sound, hearing sound means you already recognize that it is a sound. You may even be able to distinguish one sound from another. Even though you hear a sound for a very brief moment, all of a sudden you hear a sound, you hear a sound. Therefore, as long as your sense hearing faculty, consciousness and contact come together, feeling arises, and then perception arises. That happens almost very quickly. I must not say simultaneously, but it appears to be like happening simultaneously, so quickly. And therefore perception is there. You cannot, your question is it possible? Is it possible not to produce volitional formations when we contact something with one of the senses? Volitional formations, you can control that. When you are mindful, you recognize whatever you experience. It can be as sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, a thought and so on, you can understand them as they arise, and you can see them arising and passing away. Then volitional formations, you the arising is wholesome volitional formations, because you see these things happening. And so volitional formations arise when you perceive them, but you can control them to make them wholesome volitional formations. With your mindfulness training, knowing impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness of what you have experienced, the sight, sound, smell, and so on, they all are impermanent, changing. They all are unsatisfactory if they are, if you try to hold on to them and you are clinging to them, unsatisfactory. You let go of this clinging, then it remains to be wholesome. And then you know that it is without self. When you see these three characteristics of anything you experience, you still have volitional formations. That volitional formations is wholesome one. However, when the mind is totally free from ignorance, greed and ignorance, then your sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and so forth will not produce any volition. It simply becomes a pure action, only action. Seeing is an action, hearing is an action, and so on. You don't let the mind go beyond that. So that is possible through the training. Okay. Next part of your question is it possible not to have Vedana and Sanya in response to sense? Yes, Vedana and Sanya are the mental conditioner, Sanya Vedana, mental conditioner. Only when you attain Sanya Vedita Nirodha state, that Sanya and Vedana will cease. Sanya Vedana cease. To attain Sanya Vedita Nirodha, you have to go through all these status of jhanas and attain at least anagami state, never return state. Why is that? Because when perceptions and feeling arises in ordinary persons who even tries to attain that state, there will arise a fear of losing something. The fear of losing is the sign of greed. The one who attains anagami state does not have greed, and therefore that person can attain sanya vedita nirodha. That also is called nirodha samapatti. So until such attainment, you cannot stop perceptions and feelings. Next question. I have heard about the Bahiya Sutta, but I am puzzled by it. It is stated that Bahiya, on receiving this teaching from the Buddha, in the seeing will be merely what is seen, in the heard will be merely what is heard, attain arahanthood. Does it mean that there is no feeling, no perceptions, no formations? How can one practice this teaching? All right. Bahiya is a very good example. You have to prepare your mind like Bahiya's mind. Bahiya was uh, practicing meditation for long time. He, as you know the story, he was in a ship when it was because of the shipwreck. He somehow managed to come to land. Then when he came to the land, he has lost all, even his clothes. Now he simply collected leaves and barks and ropes and so forth and made something to cover his nakedness. But he was very honest, sincere person. He went on eating the fruit or nuts that fell from trees. He did not pluck them from trees. And he drank just water on streams. And so forth, he slowly went on all the time in meditation. Then one day he thought that he was an arahant, pure, clean, without defilements. Then it is said one of his relatives who was a deity, he told Bahiya that you are not arahant. Arahant is in such and such a place, referring to the Buddha, in Jetavana. You go there. Then Bahiya, gradually, we don't know how long it took to go there, reached the Buddha. By the time he reached the Buddha, he had all the way he was meditating. And he had developed his Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. His faith, perseverance, uh, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. These are very powerful spiritual faculties. So, with this background, he went to see the Buddha and asked the Buddha to teach him Dhamma very quickly. And Buddha, after some hesitation, because he was on his arms round, finally, Bahiya said, Venerable sir, who knows, perhaps you might die soon or I might die soon. Before our death, please tell me something very short. Then Buddha said, oh, yes, this fellow is going to die soon. Then that is what he said. Ditte ditte mattang. What is seen, be mindful of seeing just as seeing, not uh, thinking about seeing, not questioning about seeing, not pondering over seeing, and let the seeing be such a quick passing moment. What he taught there was impermanence. Impermanence. It appears and disappears so quickly. As soon as Bahiya saw this insight, Buddha said about 6 senses, ditte ditte mattang, sute sute mattang, mute mute mattang, viññāte viññāta mattang, viññāte viññāta mattang. So, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and so forth, as soon as it appears, it disappears, and therefore your mind should not try to make it exist. You must see it arising and passing away much faster than lightning. He did not use the simile. I mean, in order to explain, I use the simile. So quickly it appears, quickly disappears. So in this discourse, in the later explanation, we hear people say Buddha taught him sila, samadhi, panya, morality, concentration and wisdom. All he included in that. And therefore, if there was a feeling, he saw the feeling appearing, disappearing very quickly. If there was a perception, it appears like this, appears and disappears. Everything was appearing, disappearing at the rapidest speed, most rapid speed. And seeing that he attained, he already has attained some stages of enlightenment. We don't know how much, maybe anagami. And as soon as he needed only this much from the Buddha. As soon as he heard that, then he attained state of enlightenment. Okay, next question. There are so many questions on this. Let me try to answer other questions also, and then come back to this one. Here is a word, technical term. Okay. This is another question quoted from Majjhima Nikaya. That is called Acharya Abhuta Sutta. Buddha said that the most wonderful, marvelous quality of the Tathagata is that for him, feelings are known as they arise, as they are present, as they disappear. Same with perception, thoughts. So that means the Buddha also has thoughts, that is volitional formations. Yes, Buddha had thought, but Buddha's thoughts are not called volitional formations. Volitional formations is a very heavy term. That is sankharas. Buddha's thoughts are not sankharas in the sense that the word used for other persons, unenlightened persons. Buddha's body is sankhara, of course. It is subject to change. It came to existence through causes and conditions. It is always being prepared through the breathing. And therefore his body is sankhara. But the mind is free from sankhara. Mind is totally, completely free from sankhara. Therefore, whatever thought arose in the Buddha's mind were not sankharas. They are called kiriyas. Buddha, of course, when he delivered Dhamma sermons, he has to use lot of thoughts. When he explained principles, Vinaya principles, rules and regulations, he had a lot of thoughts. None of them is sankharas. His sankhara, he said, when he attained enlightenment, visankharagatan chittam, visankharagatan chittam. The mind is free from sankhara, and therefore there is no any scruple or dust of defilements for him to have sankhara. Sankhara arises in the mind that has greed and ignorance, and Buddha is free from that. Therefore, they are not sankharas, just mere mental activities. Then the fourth question in the same series, Bhante, I did not catch the Pali words for the two kinds of nirodha. Can you explain what they mean again? Two kinds of nirodhas are uppada nirodha and anuppada nirodha. Uppada nirodha means arising and ceasing. Anuppada nirodha means ceasing, not arising. All beings who have not attained final nibbana have uppada nirodha, arising and passing, rising and falling, rising and falling. When that series of existence in samsara, in life coming into existence, then it goes out of existence. When life does not come to existence anymore, then that is called anupada nirodha. Anupada, not arising, nirodha, ceasing. There are two more questions, or three rather. Can conditions stop? Yes, conditions stop when greed and ignorance stop. Second is karma and sankhara. Somebody asked the difference between karma and sankhara. Karma and sankhara are not different, but uh, sankhara is wider than karma. Karma is only volitional, uh, volition is karma. That means when we do something with intention, when we say something, do something, or think something with intention. What are the intentions? There are six kind of intentions. Intention of greed, what do you call, what do you call, tanha, greed or craving, avyapada, what do you call, wholesome is nekama sankappa, avyapada sankappa, avihimsa sankappa. The thought of letting go, thought of metta, thought of compassion, these are wholesome roots or wholesome sankharas. The opposite of thought of greed, thought of hatred, and thought of cruelty are unwholesome sankappas. So, when the thoughts are affected by greed, hatred, and delusion, or non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion, while ignorance is in the mind, they become sankharas. For instance, somebody may do wholesome things without greed, without hatred, without much delusion, but still ignorance is there, or desire still may be there, little bit. So long as even tiniest little bit of greed and ignorance they are there, that volition is called karma. So sankhara means not sankhara includes karma as well as everything else that come into existence through causes and conditions. Like, for instance, whatever we see around us, our cell phones, our computers, our beds and chairs and houses and so forth, trees and so forth, everything in the universe are called sankhara, everything. But karma is a very specific thing that keeps us bringing to samsaric existence again and again. So the last question is nimitta, animitta. Nimitta is a sign, animitta means no sign. Then animitta, appanihita, sunyata, there are three types of doorways or doors for attaining liberation. Nimitta is raga nimitta, dosa nimitta, moha nimitta. Greed, hatred and delusion are nimittas. Animitta means no greed, no hatred, no delusion. These are called animitta. Uh, Also it is used sunyata, animitta, appanihita. Sunyata means no self. Appanihita means no greed, there's nothing to hold on to. Animitta appanihita means no sign of establishing oneself anywhere. And that is three kinds of doorways for attaining liberation. With this friend, I like to end this morning session, and I want to continue my metta wish for everybody. And where is my okay. May all those who are in pain and suffering be free from the suffering and attain liberation. Those who are in pain, afflicted by this COVID-19, may they all recover very quickly and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. There are many friends of ours and others who have lost their loved ones, and they are in deep grief, and may they be free from grief through understanding the Dhamma, and finally may they liberate from samsaric suffering and attain Nibbana. There are many doctors, nurses, and hospital staffs in various places helping these patients, and may they continue their wonderful, generous, compassionate service without themselves being affected by this virus. And may they live long in good health to continue their wonderful service. There are many leaders in the world who have been doing good job, and may they continue their very sincere, insightful work to help people, and they too live long in good health. Other leaders who have not yet done very much and may be having good intention, but let them have patience, courage, understanding, determination, patience, insight, and wisdom to make right decision to help the world. With this, with this very earnest wish, I want to end this morning session and thank you for participating and encouraging us to continue this service. Thank you.